Greetings, everybody. Welcome along. It is Inspire and Be Inspired, our weekly motivational conversations. The last few episodes have been very music driven, and tonight I am pleased to be joined by two of the fastest rising stars on the Soulful House circuit, Mr. Harris and Mr. Coppin, aka the Journeymen. Let me just bring them onto the screen and make sure we can see and hear them both. We got Ben at the top and Migs at the bottom. How are you guys? You all right?
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, good and you?
Yes, very good. Okay, so I do a very quick introduction because we get more people coming and checking out the recording than we do with us live. So I like to get into it as quick as we can, let people know what to expect. Now I've done that, I do a quick scan of my computer to make sure that we are live. I do a quick scan to make sure that people can see and hear me. I need to click on something here to make sure that the chat is working and everything else seems to be fine. Pugwash is here. Lisa Rawlings is here. They're giving me a big thumbs up, so I know we are working. Thank you, Pugs. Thank you, Lisa. Let's get to this. How you both feeling? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Nervous? Yeah, man, but...
No need
who knows what's gonna come out of my mouth, mate?
Well, listen, there's a few stories that I can tell, things that have come out of your mouth, photographs that you've shown me on your phone, things that have come out of your body, and so many more. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. I won't embarrass you, and I won't embarrass Wendy any further. Okay, so I don't think there is really a need to give you guys an introduction because you are very much the people's favourites, the golden boys of the Soulful House scene over the last... I was actually, when I was putting the information together and I actually, stopped and pondered, our paths have crossed over 13, 14 years ago. So, we've known each other a lot longer than I actually, really begin to think about. And you guys go back a lot longer than that, of course. And so I did say in the description, you are relatively newcomers to the scene, but you have been around a long time. You've earned your stripes. You've definitely put in the graft. And what I want to do this evening is have a little bit of an insight into your backgrounds, but focus mainly on your recent successes and how you're coping with that, because I think people would love to hear, how the scene has been to you guys and what you expect it to give you in the future. So that's something we can discuss for the next however long it takes, right?
Yeah,
cool,
sure.
Sounds good with me. Yeah.
Good. So what I'll do is I will direct my questions to each of you at a time, so we're not all talking over one another. And I'll come, because Ben is on the top of my screen, I'll come to Ben first. Tell me a little bit about yourself. As I did say when we were just off air, I don't really want to go into the full life story because this isn't that kind of a conversation, but I would like to get to know a little bit more about how you guys met, what life was like growing up for you, because I've got a few years on you, so it'll be interesting to know your perspective on the house scene, some of your early idols and so on and so forth. So let's jump into junior school, some of your first memories, that you remember.
So I think junior school was for me an interesting time. I was quite a lively kid, always into things and getting in trouble. I was one of them people, like, your probably teacher would say, nice guy, gets distracted really easily, one of them kids, right? But musically, my sister was probably the first influence in that area because she was a couple of years older than me. So she was coming home with like Public Enemy tapes and stuff like that, while I was still listening to Michael Jackson and commercial edged music when I was growing up. And then Public Enemy started to kind of influence me a little bit more, and I started to listen to more hip hop and realised there was this whole other world of music out there that up until that point I've never really had access to, because my mum and dad were both into, well, my mum was a Motown fan and my dad was into like Led Zeppelin, Beatles, all that sort of stuff. So
very diverse. So let me just put a timestamp on this. Late 70s you were born, or early 80s?
78 I was born.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I think that the Michael Jackson Thriller album was the first time I think I really sort of fell in love with music, and then after that it was just different things. But yeah, my sister's kind of going to school in the high school, so because she was 2 years above me, and I was still in sort of what we class primary school. So I was hearing stuff that was kind of influencing me in that area. I actually had to Skype off school one day to get a certain Public Enemy tape off her because she wouldn't let me have it. And then so the next day I actually don't tell my mum, if you're watching this, but I was pulled a little sickie and actually had to sneak into her room to get the tape out so that I could listen to that, record it on my own little tape player, and then things sort of developed from there. But I think early influences a lot were like Westwood, Trevor Nelson, the Dream Team, Danny Rampling. Radio 1 was like a staple thing that I used to listen to as I was getting older. And really from a house perspective, that's where my first sort of real, again, that sort of adoration for the music came from the education that I think I was getting through Danny, because I grew up in Banbury. I wasn't growing up in the city. A lot of my friends that I meet and I'm sort of involved with now grew up in a city, so they did have a little bit more of a local influence and people that could educate them with different tapes and different music, etc. Whereas I was having to listen to Radio 1 almost to get my education a little bit in those early years.
Mm-hmm. I get yeah.
And then just went on from there, really. But
right, okay. Well, that's a great a great overview of your younger years. Let me just say, as always, I like to make this as fully interactive as possible. If the guys bring up any comments, mention any parties, ladies and gents in the chat, feel free to send a shout out, because I can see all of your comments. Welcome along to Schoolie. Shouts out to the lovely Sophie Taylor. I was actually thinking about you earlier, Sophie, watching Ted Lasso. That's a conversation for another time. And yeah, anybody else? DJ GC, good evening. And I'm not sure if I said hi to Andy Tomo, so keep the comments coming. Right then, Migs, where do you want to take us? Where do you feel you need to come into this story?
Nowhere. No, I mean, like, I think my early influences come from my mum. And I mean, I come from a soul background, a soul and R&B background, because that's what my mum used to play. So like my earliest memory, or my earliest memory of hearing good music comes from her. And then I was telling somebody last night that when Atomic Dog comes on, it reminds me the first time I went over to New York. I think I was 5 or 6, and that was just on the radio constantly. And yeah, so that's my background. I'm just a little country village boy, just like Ben.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I can see I'm going to have to coax more information out of you, because you are very shy. Let's put again in comparison to Ben. When were you born?
I was born in 76.
So you were born in 76. So a little bit on Ben. Okay, I got to turn my air conditioning off. My toes are freezing. It's a hard life. It's a hard life. Yeah. Okay, so Ben mentioned about his sister. Tell us about any siblings for yourself.
Me, I'm the middle child. So I had 2 brothers, one on my mum's side, one on my dad's side. I've got a younger sister on my dad's side, and I've got 2 sisters on my mum's side.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I am the overlooked one.
The overlooked one. Okay. So R&B background. So I guess if let's just skip, cut to the chase. Where did your paths cross?
Well, there's a couple of stories.
And bearing in mind, I've heard of a lot of this myself before. We're sharing this with everybody else.
Okay, so the story is we met on a dating site, and and then we went out and had a couple of drinks together, and we thought, we didn't really hit it off, but we'd be good friends. So so here we are.
Okay, so who's the postman and who's the letterbox?
Listen,
is it not obvious?
It actually isn't, Ben. It actually isn't. Oh, so it's actually the Journey Boys.
Exactly.
Okay, seriously, come on now. 2023.
Okay.
I think it's about year 2000. Yeah, it was year 2000.
Yeah, 2019 to 20.
I was
2000.
I was doing a bit of DJing for a guy called Brian, who was a promoter in the UK, and he'd asked me to play in Bedford at a thing he was putting on in Bedford. I turned up there with my mates, my record box, and I got there a little bit early. If I was playing somewhere new for the first time, I'd go somewhere, scope it out a little bit. I never like to go straight in. I'd like to sort of check out the town. I've never been to Bedford before. And we got out the car, stood in the car park, not sure where to go. And then the security guy wanders over and says, you lads look a little bit lost. Do you need any help? And then we just sort of had a little chat. He pointed us in the right direction. And then later on in the club, while I was DJing, I felt like this presence next to me while I was playing. There's someone going like this, and I turned around and it was Migs. And then after my set, he was like, "Look, you're all right. You are. Do you want
to go for a coffee?"
Yeah. No. So let me just add a little bit in there. So at the time, I was doing promotions in Bedford. Me and a friend of mine, Blakey, used to do a night called Fade to Black. So and I'd basically take over a couple of the bar or a bar, and then just throw a party. So when Ben come over, so the concept of our parties were we would play R&B, garage, we'll play bashment. I mean, it was so every DJ played say for 45 minutes just to keep it all flowing. So he come along, and I liked what he was playing, so I wanted him to come and play at one of my parties. But Ben being a little bit bougie and a little bit funny, I generally had to coax him into coming over and coming to play. But I invited him over to one bank holiday. I said, "Look, yeah, you might as well just come over, just check it out, see what's going on." And then he goes, "Yeah, son, it's not really my kind of thing." You know what I mean? It might have just been a little bit too dark for him. I don't know, but I don't want to put that out there, son. But
yeah, no, it weren't. I was that raving more to house, garage, bit more jungle, that sort of stuff. But R&B, your event was more R&B, if I remember rightly. It was a more R&B orientated event, and I wasn't necessarily as interested in going out to another town to go R&B raving. I was more, just wanted to go out and dance to house or garage or something on that day.
So it was. He still never actually come over and played at one of my parties, but what he done was he come over there. He come over to the party. We was having a giggle, and then we kept in contact. But then we was going to was it Sidewinders and things like that.
Bumping into and then the feelings and stuff. We was bumping into each other out, I think.
Yeah. So we kept on bumping into each other at these various different garage raves because obviously we moved, we was moving around and just partying. And then we just decided, well, I'm going to this next week. What are you doing? Yeah, I'm going. And then next thing I know, we was traveling the lengths and breadths of this country partying together.
Love it. So this is post Miggs's boy band era.
No. Hold on. Ben's the boy band member. I ain't the boy band member.
Well, I beg to differ.
No. Listen. I am actually his security. You know what I mean? And the number one fan club. You know what I mean?
Well, I have had the pleasure of being at both of your guys' weddings, and I've heard all of the speeches and I've seen all of the photographs. So I'm sure. Am I, Ben? Correct me. Am I incorrect here with boy band memories?
No, you're not.
No. See, this is where he tried fucking me up, right? because the thing is, he's known as Pretty Boy Inc. Him is Boy Kilby, Roxy, Prada, right? Them boys, right? He's got this picture, and there's like 15 of them, all together, right? All tinted hair. You know what I mean? He even had a dodgy mullet at the time in this picture, right? Right. So, like a boy band. So from that point there, he was known as Pretty Boy Inc. Right, but then to turn the tables round at my wedding, he decides, to call me Pretty Boy, but really it's him.
Okay.
And anybody that knows us knows that's the truth.
That's the truth. But everyone that really knows you knows that you wanted to be in the band.
Yeah, but I weren't good looking enough. That's what I'm gonna say. You know what I mean? So what did I do? I become your security. Closest thing to getting out. You know what I mean? You've got to come through me to get to you.
I love it. You gotta love that. I gotta say good evening to Mrs. Ward, who is watching in the other room. Jane Harrington sends love hearts, and Emily says good evening or welcome. Sean Hart, another Clash show from the Brighton crew. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Okay, so as we can see so very clearly, you've got a great dynamics between the two of you. And even though it takes a little bit to bring Migs out of his shell, once he does, then he's no shrinking violet at all. There is a misconception of, who's the quiet one and who's the boisterous one, that people will get to make their own minds up as time progresses. But on a serious note, you don't sit comfortably with the limelight, do you, Migs? You feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I really do.
Which is strange as a DJ, enjoying so much of the limelight. But I wanted to get that in there now to remind myself to talk about it as we progress. Okay, so Ben, I know the story. When did you go to Australia? Again, remind me.
2008.
Okay, so what was the motivation behind that?
I was coming to the end of the period of time that you could get in there on a working holiday visa, because you had to be in Australia by the age of 30 to get that type of visa, which enabled you to get 12 months worth of work, doing whatever you wanted to do on a like working visa, basically. And if you didn't arrive in Australia by the time you were 30, you couldn't do it. But behind that was probably a series of other events. My mum had always wanted to go to Australia, and they were really close as a family as being part of like the whole sort of £10, what they called the £10 POMs at the time, where you pay £10 for your ticket, your visa, your passport. But unfortunately, my real granddad became ill and eventually passed away. But it was his kind of idea to take the family, and then when he started becoming ill, they obviously decided not to travel. So for my mum, it was always like a bit of a dream, I think, that I was reliving through, or she was living through me, to go to Australia. But once I got there and sort of arrived in Melbourne, as you know, like Melbourne's such a great city. And as soon as I got there, I was just like, yeah, this is a bit of me, and just wanted to stay for as long as I possibly could, made some great friends, had a really good time musically. I found a little niche group of people, Chris MG, Carl, Steve Costa, MJ, James Bellius, that were really sort of pushing kind of house as we know it over there. And once I kind of found this sort of pocket of a scene, I just felt at home, and I wanted to stay there as long as possible, which ended up being there 4 years, which is eventually where I met you, where you were coming over. I think, is it Pretty Please, the club, the nightclub?
Pretty Please in Melbourne, yeah. Got to give a shout out to Dave Ferris amongst all of those names.
Yeah, defo.
So Dave and Chris amongst the guys who would bring me over on several of my tours of Australia. I think I toured Australia 5 times in total. It's beautiful to be able to reminisce about that. And we were talking behind the velvet rope.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I think it was Rox. It was actually Roxy that went, like, he turned up as my guest and turned up and ended up talking to you. And I had never met you, but I could see him talking to you, and he was like, I was like, what are you doing behind there? And he's like, I'm just chatting to Andy Ward. I was like, yeah, I could see you're chatting to Andy Ward, but how did that happen?
He weren't MCing in your ear by any chance, was he?
Possibly. I actually found the video of that night recently, and it was a great promo video. I was absolutely wankered on the video.
The last memory I have of that night was you pouring a massive Grey Goose vodka bottle into my mouth, and the next day me throwing up quite violently. So I blame you for that event from happening. But
a different life.
Yeah. I hear
Okay,
you.
so obviously you chipped at that point. So have we got ahead of ourselves? Well, actually, no. You'd already told me that you had been playing because that's how you guys met. Ridiculous question. Yeah. Let's roll back then. Migs, what were you doing when he upped sticks and left you? Were you heartbroken?
To tell the truth, yes, I was. You know what I mean? Because at the time that he left, it wasn't long after. I think it was. Yeah, it wasn't long after one of my closest mates committed suicide. So me and Ben had this special relationship. You know, I mean, he kept me through it and blah blah blah. But when he left, it was almost like my left nut got chopped off. You know, because no, because we was together that much.
Sorry,
we was
is that how you see me? As your left nut? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you're more like me cock, to be fair. You know what I mean? You're useless. You're good for some things and useless for others. You know what I mean?
Just gonna take another sip of this.
Yeah.
But no. So when Ben decided he was going to leave me in the wilderness, I was a little beside myself. But then I just kept myself occupied. I kept myself doing what I needed to do. But
just sorry to cut you off there, son, but one of the things that just I think is important to mention at this point was it was Miggs' 30th birthday not long before I went to Australia, and I'd always said to Miggs, why don't you DJ? Because his musical knowledge is up there with anyone else I know. He's got a stack of music at home that was some of the stuff that he used to play me was absolutely amazing. Like stuff I'd never heard. You think you've heard it all right sometimes, and there's just Migs had all this other stuff I'd never heard before. And we kind of got down to it, to the nitty gritty. It was actually Migs is a bit of a technophobe and also doesn't like the limelight. So his choice not to DJ was based on really not wanting to put himself in a situation where I think you felt that all the eyes would be on you. And secondly, True. I think you feared the technical side of what DJing is about from I think an equipment point of view and all the bits and bobs and the process that goes with it. So I was quite convinced, judging by his musical ear, that we could actually get Migs to DJ based on the music that he had and his appreciation to pick out and program music at the right time in the right place. He just had this knack for it. So I eventually encouraged him to play at a party I was throwing in Banbury, and he came over and another mate of ours helped him with the technical side of it. And then just before I went to Australia, it was Migs' 30th, and I approached a lot of our friends and said, look, I really think that if we got together for a birthday present for Migs, we could put together and get him some Pioneer, some of the early Pioneer 3000 CDJs, or 200, sorry, the 200s, I think, weren't they? Was that right?
Yeah.
So we all clubbed together a bit of money each, and we presented them to Migs for his birthday. And then by the time I actually left to go to Australia, Migs basically said to me, when you come back, I'm going to have your crown. And I went, crown? And he went, because all of the people that we used to roll with, they used to get my CDs or take the CDs that I created, mixed CDs, etc., and give them to everybody. And everyone, genuinely, the feedback was always really positive. Everyone really loved them. But I think Migs was trying to say that by the time I got back from Australia, people were going to like his mixes and his CDs more than they would like mine, basically. And that's what happened. So I came back and found myself down the pecking order to these Migs CDs and mixes that were going up on SoundCloud. And it was a bit like, oh, okay. And
well, let me pause you. Let me pause you there, because I want to go back to hearing what Migs was saying with regards to how he was feeling when you left, and then his viewpoint of how that all progressed.
Yeah, so like I said, it was to have your mate that you're out with 2-3 weekends. It was a strange adjustment. But the beautiful thing is, I had Wendy with me, so she kept me sane. She kept me on the straight and narrow. She told me what I needed to do. Because I didn't have my ride or die with me. So, yeah. So I kind of immersed myself in trying to become a DJ. And and I think I sent you one of my mixes once, Andy, to ask for some critique, or what could I do, or blah blah blah, to try and get myself that little bit further, because obviously I had to try and catch up with Benny Big Shot.
Pretty Boy Inc. I'll be honest, I don't recall that exchange. So what happened?
So I sent that to you, and then I think it was maybe after I come out to BB for the first time, and then I sent that to you to listen, critique, tell me what you thought, etc. And then the next year, you invited me to come and play on the closing of Pressure. So I played the last set of Pressure Radio.
Okay, and would that have been more R&B-esque?
No, that was house. I played a house set. First time I played at BB, and like I said, it was in Pressure Room.
Because I know you have played R&B, hip hop, reggae, poolside, but all the years blend into one. I do remember you were at the first one in 2010 in Campermore. So that was actually that was the second event that we'd done.
That's right.
So 2009 we did the first one in Los Alcatraz. 2010 was the first year at the Monty. I'm fairly certain you were on the promo video for that. I know for a fact you were at 2011, because that was the first year we did the baseball jerseys, and you were on the official baseball jersey there on the video. So that's the timeline there. I'd already been to Australia and met Ben then. I think it was 2009. I think we established
9 or 10, mate, one of them.
And then you came back. So and how did that first set go down, Migs?
Yeah, it went down well, believe it or not. Because it was the small room next to where we're always. So it went down better than I expected. I had some nice support from the guys from Barcelona, and I think that's where,
and a good friend watching on the video from Australia, I think, at the time, if I remember rightly.
I don't know how you watching it, because it wasn't streamed live. So you just chat shit all the time.
It was either streamed or it was streaming through the radio live. One of the two.
Oh, right. Okay. So you didn't see me then, did you?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. So that went well. Yeah. Early times of VB, but we won't dwell on that. But yes, a completely different beast than it became. So when you came back then, Ben, tell us how you adapted or introduced yourself to the scene, and was there a little bit of friendly competition between the two of you, or it's like, right, okay, hold on a minute, I'm back now, step aside.
Listen, I'll tell you straight, there was no competition. There was no competition. You know what I mean? No. The fat man had landed. Yeah, and then I was introducing him to everybody. So this is Ben. This is my friend Ben. You know what I mean? So he taught me how to DJ. He's a great DJ. But it's true.
Maybe you've never talked about it, Ben. But in all seriousness, you're very good friends. Was there ever a little bit of envy there when you came back, or were you happy for him, or was there ever that little bit of, okay, I need to readdress the balance?
100%. I was like, right, I can't have this. Can't have him showing me up. No, I was really pleased, because I think Migs learned really quickly how to put sets together and program sets and mix and do all the things that you're expected to do at a really good standard. And I was just blown away about how quickly he got from A to B, to be honest with you. As I'd worked for years, like playing vinyl and this, that, and the other. And you have to work on your style, and you have to work on all those things and learn as you go, and reading crowds and all this sort of stuff. But Migs just seemed to just get it like that. And I think I was a little bit shocked that he'd done that so quickly in that period of time. And when I came back, I genuinely thought, you know what? He's fucking good. And I just thought, if I don't sort of get my sort of act together a little bit, you know, genuinely, I wanted to maintain that status quo. You know, like not I'm seen as a better DJ, but just to make sure that I didn't sort of fall behind or too far away. But we used to bounce mixes off each other all the time. So before maybe I'd put something online or whatever, I'd send it to Migs to listen to. And if he said that was a load of shit, I wouldn't do anything with it predominantly. So, or it'd just stay in the car. But I think, you know, genuinely, I was shocked at how quickly he had gone from that A to B scenario. But at the same time, I was genuinely pleased, because that's the whole reason we bought him the decks in the first place and clubbed together as mates to kind of, you know, give him something to do, like to be passionate about, get him excited. And I think that's what happened. So yeah, it was job done.
That's lovely to hear. Lovely to hear. So how soon, what were some of your first gigs then when you got back in the UK, or at what point did you come and spin at VB?
So I did a couple of gigs. I can't remember.
You done a Mikasa one, didn't you?
Mikasa was the last. I think the Mikasa Sukasa was the last one that I did as an individual DJ, and then it's actually Karen Griffith. Big shout to the Grifter, actually, who we've known for years and we love her dearly. And she just had said, "Look, do you guys want to come and play at my birthday party back to back?" And we were just like, "Yeah, why not?" And then after that, it just seemed that every New Year's we was playing back to back together, and it just clicked. It just clicked from the off, and it just went from strength to strength. I think the first VB was 2014. And if I think back now, I remember as well, Andy, I think even at that point, it was Migs and Ben. It wasn't even the Journeymen at that point. It was just Migs and Ben.
We'd only just done our first release, didn't we?
Literally.
Yeah. And then prior to that, the only other time that prior to playing at Karen's party, the only time we'd ever play back to back was in the front room when you'd play a bit of hip hop and then I'd be in the bath and all of a sudden I hear a tune and I think, oh, I've got something for that. And then I come running out in my towel.
Those are the best
moment.
Those are the best partnerships when you inspire one another and there is that friendly competition. And, that one-upmanship, it's just like, it's not even one-upmanship. It's just like, yes, okay, I like where you're going with this. And you just pushing yourself forward. I have that same relationship with Simon when we do the same thing. It's a great feeling. It's lovely listening to you two recount that as well. Okay, so you mentioned about the production then. What was the inspiration for you to start making music together? Just an itch that needed scratching?
Ben was having a conversation with my friend Lee Darling, aka the Layabouts, aka Saison, and he was saying, "Oh, why don't you boys get?" Well, did he? I can't remember. Did he say to you, "Why don't you boys come into the studio?" Or you was having a conversation saying you wouldn't mind going into the studio? I can't remember.
I think it was a bit of both. Like I've dabbled a bit in production here and there with different people over the years, but never really sat down and wanted to master the buttons entirely. And I think I've done a bit here and there over the years, like jumping into little studio sessions and bits and bobs with people. So we've always had that, like you say, an itch to scratch, but no one really to kind of pull it together. And Lee was the first person who was like, right, well, what is it you want to do? And we were like, well, we just want to make some tunes people enjoy, and using the
just
influences. Yeah. And that was it. So we got in the studio. But then when we got into the studio, that first session, he sort of asked about bass and was like, well, what you said about just coming and enjoying yourself, yeah, that's fine. But you don't want to come in and spend 8 hours in the studio and not get anything at the end of it. We need to get something out of that time that's production worthy, and we don't want to just sit here twinkling on the knobs and playing keys to each other and drums and stuff. We want to get something down, and that was the first time I've been in the studio with anyone that had that direct drive to get something done. And as soon as we started working on a project or focused our energy into something we knew we wanted to get done, it just seemed to become a catalyst for well, where is this going now? And it became a thing rather than just us actually just chilling out, enjoying ourselves and having a bit of a bubble in the studio, I think.
I hear that. And you both was one of you more vocal than the other, or did you feel that you both had a valid input into the direction? Because sometimes when you've got three people in a studio, it can be, or I've known it to be, that someone will just want to say something just for the sake of having an input, and it doesn't really bring much improvement to the proceedings. So did it take a while for you to gel well together? Or Migs is smiling. What nerve have I touched?
No. No. So to start off with, I think, well, I've got Ben in my phone as well. One of the names in my phone is Elmer Thud.
There's a signal problem. I'm just going to.
Oh, is there?
Hold on, as well.
Quite convenient there, lad.
Elmer Thud, yeah, Elmer. Oh, mate, we didn't even think about that.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I called him Elmer Thud is because every idea that I used to throw up, he'd be like, "No, son, no." I
just used to shoot it down. Yeah.
Shoot it down.
Yeah.
You know. And then all of a sudden he realised, oh, maybe he might have something here. But it took 20 minutes to an hour for him to try and get his idea across. It was like he's very much a square peg in a round hole kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's determined to get it to work. But if it doesn't work, you know. He's afraid to give up the No, he's just afraid to give up the ghost. So
I don't like. Yeah, I think it's sorry, son. I don't mean to keep you off. It's just I think for my whole life, if I've wanted something to happen hard enough, I've worked and I've got my way eventually by not forcing the issue, but being stubborn and gritty. And I think I'm a sales, and I work in my day job. It's sales, so I'm like. I've got a target. I'm determined to get there. And if I see something I want and I think I can get it, I'll be determined to get it. And I think with my own opinion, I probably overstepped the mark a little bit in those early studio days because I felt like I had all the keys to the direction. And eventually we did really fall out almost a little bit. And then you made me see the error of my ways, and we learned to be a lot more compromising, and it's a collaborative thing, 100%. And everything we do now is a collaborative thing, apart from when I tell Migs I'm right and he's wrong.
Okay, so that's great. That's great. That's great to hear. Again, I just want to remind myself and remind everybody else that we're not going to get the full story in this short interview, but I do want to bring you back to that moment where it was decided. Was it because of the productions, or was it because you felt you were getting some momentum with the duo, that a name was needed and it needed to be something more permanent?
I think the name come more because of the production rather than us DJing together. I think, by you putting us together on at VB that time, that kind of like helped solidify okay, we can DJ together, we can produce together. I would definitely say, but yeah, it was definitely, we needed a name for the music, because Mr. Migs and Ben Coppin doesn't really sound very interesting, does it, when you're trying to sell records?
Well, it's all relative, I guess. It's all a point of perspective. Yeah. Ben, did you want to say something on that?
Yeah, I think it was an organic thing. It was like you'd put us on at VB. We'd got the first release was coming out almost at a very similar time, and so we're having to think about like what was going to happen beyond that. And it was just like we had to choose something. I think this is a prime example of where me and Migs, we probably at that stage we're overthinking things, but we must have gone through, I don't know, 150, 200 different names, because we just couldn't, because me and you are just me and you, right? It's just Migs and Ben. It is just Migs and Ben. But for people that don't know us, they've got no idea, like you said, put Migs and Ben on a flyer, they've got no idea. But I think we just wanted something that represented everything that we're about, how we felt. We were probably trying to tick too many boxes, but by doing that, we just kept coming back to the name, the Journeymen, and then each time we sort of went, well, maybe not. We'd have another reason to say, well, yeah, maybe yeah, and it just felt right. At that point, I think it was just the one we just kept coming back to.
Or it was just a case of we thought, fuck it, yeah, let's just stick with that one.
Pugwash makes a good point. Let me say hi to Blackwax. Hello, mate. Also, Lee Howlett is saying, good evening, lads. So,
evening, boys.
That's
evening, one and all.
Pugwash makes a good point. He says, Dean J on the logo and ting. So you had your identity, you had your branding. Now, what I've got written down here in my writing, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, why have I written that? And now it all comes back to me. I've got written down here, Gareth Bale. And the reason I've got that written down is because I think of Amanda Reid, I think of Spurs, I think of Gareth Bale. And I'm not a big footballing person, but Gareth Bale, I'm sure you'll correct me, he came through the ranks and everyone used to say, he's one of our own, he's one of our own. Everyone's so proud for, what he did. And that's the way I see you guys. You, in my mind, you guys succeeded so well because you're such lovable guys. You're great DJs, of course, but you had the whole energy and the momentum of a crowd behind you, whether that's vocal booth, whether it's deep into soul or, whatever. You've always seemed to have the backing of the crowd who have been pushing you forward. It's like pushing against the wind and everyone's behind you. It's like, come on, guys, if you succeed, we're all with you. That's got to have been apparent to you from the off, right?
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, yeah, I mean, our core base is the VB guys. They're from the moment that me and Ben stepped up and played together, they were behind us, and then whenever we were playing somewhere, they were there. There was, Amanda, you mentioned Amanda, she was always front and center, jumping up and down. It was just,
the thing is, you've always been very vocal and very appreciative on any of your posts. You've always gone out of your way to, to give thanks to myself and to the VB. And I've always, taken your thanks. But what I will remind you of is the fact that over the 15 events that we've done, I've given that opportunity to 70, 80 other DJs, and none of them have achieved what you've achieved. So it is down to your hard work, it's down to your talent, it's down to your drive, so don't ever forget that, and I'm sure you don't. Okay, now one of the I think for myself, it was, you seem to blow up, and again, I may be wrong, you seem to blow up when Spen got involved and you had a release on Quantize. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd say that was probably where things started to change for us. 100%. Just being, I think the first time we realised that this isn't just a bit of fun anymore was when someone as legendary as that goes, yeah, I like what you're doing and I'll sign it. It's those dreams that become a reality that you think, fucking hell, like this isn't just a little thing anymore. This is actually. I don't mean to
interrupt your train of thought. Did you put the tune to him, or did he hear it and then approach you?
No, we put it to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, It was Lee had been, he had done something with him, and then whilst we was making the songs that we were making, he goes, "Oh, why don't you see if Spen's interested?" And then
we thought he was joking at first. To be honest, we were like, "Yeah, right, mate." Like we just thought it was like throwing a little, saying like a little bit, not curveball, but what do you call it? I don't know. Like, thought it was just making a passing joke, but he was deadly serious, wasn't he? Sorry, Harris. Sorry, son.
No, you're right. All good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so carry on, Ben. You were saying to get that opportunity to get onto Quantize. Remind me what EP it was.
Close to Me, wasn't it?
The Temperance EP, the first one. Close to Me on it. Yeah, Close to Me was on it. The Temperance EP. Funnily enough, the Temperance EP was a track that I had sort of. It was one of them ones where what we were talking about before. We didn't always agree on everything in the studio, but we agreed on enough to make things happen in the early years.
Apart from that track.
But then
that was the first time in however many years that me and Ben ever had that was our first argument. You know what I mean? I still stand to it now. I still don't like that song.
But then, funnily enough, Spen wanted to sign the EP based on that track, so we were like, we had to just go with it, and these things just happened. And that was what, like, some of the stuff that we've done is we've been really lucky. We've worked really hard. We've been really lucky. Like, just those things have just resonated or whatever. And
I don't allow people to use that word. Everyone knows me. They know I don't use that word lucky. It's nothing about luck at all. You know, there's a drive, there's a reason, there's an equation why it works. Let me focus on this sticking point of this track then. So you say you don't like it, Migs, and
No.
Ben's saying if Ben is saying it was actually the one that got you noticed, did you learn anything from that?
No, I still stand. No, listen. I still stand by. I just don't like it. I mean, to me, it never done anything. I mean, at the point that we had the argument in the studio, if you heard it, it would have sent you to sleep. It was like 2.5 minutes before anything happened. You know what I mean? It was like, what's that all about? You know what I mean? He goes, it's a roller, son. It's a roller. It's a roller. You know what I mean? It's just one of them. It's just one of them. And I'm like, no, it's shit. You know what I mean? And then, you know what I mean? And I actually turned around and I stood there in his face. You know what I mean? We're actually like nose to nose almost. And I said, yeah, son, how about this? You put it out as you. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm more than happy for you to do that. And he goes, no, son, trust me. So then I sat at the back for a little bit and had a little sulk, and then him and Lee jiggled it about a little bit to chop, like I said, 2.5 minutes of tosh out, and then they put it forward, and then when we come back, and then Spen goes, yeah, we'll have it, blah blah blah. I'm gonna do a remix of this, and it was Temperance, and then I was, you know, and inside me, I was like, you. See you next Tuesday. But
although maybe the changes you forced pushed.
Well, I mean, do you know what? I like the way you think there, Andy. But no, it wasn't. It just so happened it resonated with him to want to do something, and it doesn't resonate with me. You know.
Come on then, Ben. Let's have a comeback to that.
Well, I think what Migs is saying is absolutely right. He's not saying anything that didn't happen, or, you know, he's not mentioned his words there at all. But the very first time that I played that record, Migs was stood next to me. This is the last gig that I did on my own at Me Casa with Cole Lovelace, bless Cole, basically. Like, I should say as well, great guy, great party. But as I was stood there bringing it in, this track, you could hear the first notes and stuff coming in. I turn around and Migs is having a little tear in his eye, he's having a little cry.
Hey, listen, I'm a sensitive guy, man. What can I mean? Listen, I cry at anything.
All them arguments, it was all worthwhile in the end, wasn't it? You know. So
yeah, but you know, like I said, to me, it's still shit. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I just do not like that song.
I think it is fair to say what we learned from that EP was that we both have definitely still got very different, you know, even though we're bubbling on the same sort of vibe a lot, we've still got very different opinions about music. And actually over that period of time, we have learned to push or to be able to bring them together in a bit more of a collaborative way. And I'm definitely better. I'm not sure if Migs will agree, but I'm definitely better at listening to Migs, I value anything that Migs says anyway, but I think that he does,
That's
you know, now there's a lot more that I'll listen to, take on board, rather than just think and make assumptions about me being right anyway. That makes sense.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, well done you. How did things change? Was it immediate? Could you sense a shift of energies immediately, but being associated with Spen, or was it something in your own mind that shifted?
I think the release on Quantize, it opened people's eyes up to us, or took us a bit more serious than what they probably did originally. You know, I think that like I said, with having somebody, a man of that magnitude, giving you a thumbs up to what you're doing, then like I said, it just gives a bit more gravitas on certain things, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really recall. I mean, to me, it's still I still see us as work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So these past couple of years have been amazing, but I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
That's okay. Well, the last few years have been the energy levels have gone through the roof, and you have played some of, if not the most prestigious events in the world on the Soulful House circuit. I mean, I'm not going to follow the timeline chronologically now, but let's just talk about the recent Southport Weekender. You were there as guests, not for the first time. I saw you last year when I was there myself, but then you did such a great job. I'm assuming, because I haven't spoken to you about this, I'm assuming someone missed a flight. They couldn't make a set, and so you were asked to fill in for them. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Hold on. No. What are we talking about here? We talking about Southport?
Suncebeat.
No, didn't you get 2 sets at Southport? Well, you always meant to do 2 sets at Southport.
Yeah. No, so you're referring to us at Suncebeat last year. Sandy Riviera couldn't make it, so they asked us to fill in on the main stage on the Kings of Tomorrow.
Okay, so just to put it into my own head, and we'll come back to that. You did 2 sets at Southport this year, and you were always meant to do 2 sets in the powerhouse.
Yeah.
Taking the piss. I thought one of those was sort of like someone had let you down. That's even better then. That's even better. Okay, so let's go back to Suncebeat then. Tell us the Suncebeat thing.
Go on, Ben.
Go on, Mick.
Go on, Ben. To me, to you.
Yeah, we so obviously working with Nick and Alex for a few years, and Suncebeat, as you know, mate, it's just a great event, and big up to them too for creating it and all that sort of stuff. And we arrived there last year having played the beach stage 3 or 4 times and various boat parties and whatnot. And when we arrived on the Wednesday night, we landed, got to the artist liaison bit, and Nick sort of said, "Oh, look, we need to have a word with you lads." And took us to one side and said, "Look, please don't mention to anyone at this stage, but we've had some bad news, and Sandy Rivera can't come on the Monday night." And we were like, "Oh, right, no, it's a nightmare." He said, "So Alex wanted to know if you guys wanted to play on the main stage on the Monday night, but you can't tell anyone because no one knows that Sandy isn't coming." It was all, I don't know all the ins and outs, but we were just like, at first we just went, "Well, yeah, of course, we'll do it." And then as we got in the taxi, we were walking down the street. We're like, "Oh, I'm sad." I mean, it was a surreal thing.
I believe that it was off the back of what we done at Southport that year last year. That give us, I guess, that little step in to ask to fill them shoes. So, that's what I think.
Yeah, well, you've never disappointed. So fair play, congratulations. I thought this year again, because I was aware of you filling in at Suncebeat, but I thought that's what had happened again this year when you were saying, to get 2 sets. So I need to Pugwash is saying the hate is real. Yeah, listen, there couldn't be a prouder man. For these guys' success. So let's bring it back then to the success and Pugwash making a joke about the hate is real, particularly Migs, but I also want to focus on you as well, Ben. Being forced into the limelight, having the success, you very lovable guys. We joke a lot. You've both got good energies. Have you ever stopped and felt paranoid of jealousy? Migs, I'm coming to you first. Has that ever been a struggle for you?
No. Because as bad as it sounds, I don't care. It's like if people want to hate on us, they want to hate on us. If they want to be jealous of us, they'll be jealous of us. You know what I mean? It's,
Okay, well, that's fair play. That's not an answer I thought I was going to get from you. So fair play. Carry on.
You know, I mean, you can't. If somebody doesn't like you, they don't like you. You know, you can't change that. So no matter what we do, they're always going to hate. So what do? You just carry on. I mean, if I sit there and start being paranoid, oh, is this person talking about? Is that person talking about me? Do they like me? Do they not like me? Then, you know, I wouldn't come out of my house. You know, but yeah. So I don't care. I don't care about that kind of stuff, because if that starts getting in your head, then that could be paralyzing and demoralizing and everything. So no,
it is.
I don't.
It is. Let me tell you, Ben. How do you? Thank you for being so frank, and a shout out to Dinga. How are you, brother? Ben, what's your answer to that?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same thing as Migs. I think, I don't know. I've just never been that sort of person to think about that stuff. I believe you put your heart and soul into whatever you do, right? And what you do, if you put your heart and soul into something, you'll get back what you put in. And if someone's got a problem with that, then that's up to them. And if they go around in the world treating the world like they're owed something, they're never going to get anything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I just don't, like, you just literally do what you've got to do. Stay in your lane, give it your all, and whatever happens, happens. But I can understand what you're saying in terms of like that the sort of jealousy thing a bit, you know, but at the end of the day, I think, I don't know if I read somewhere, I heard it on, you know, somebody said something, you know, if people are a bit jealous or they're hating, then you're doing something right. Something you're doing is you're doing something right.
Right. Okay, so let's not focus on the negative side of it then. It might be, I think it's a completely different emotion. The imposter syndrome, has that ever struck you?
Yeah, no, I suffer from that all the time, you know, because I didn't become, I was never wanted to become a DJ. You know, it was, dare I say, forced upon me by my good friend, you know. So getting these opportunities that we've been given, you know, and having the support, you know, from yourself, like Neil, and, you know, and Nick and Alex, and, you know, all these people that believe in what we do and what we're doing, you know. And to me, I just, I struggle. I do struggle with that.
Ben?
No, I don't so much, but I understand where Migs is coming from. But I also think that, you know, you get, like, you get out what you put in, and these people believe in us because we do a good job, and we give it everything we've got. And I think that's one of the reasons people do like us, because we are quite honest about that. And, you know, Migs said it perfectly earlier, we are still work in progress. And I think we'll always see ourselves as work in progress, hence the name, The Journeymen, because I think we'll always look at ourselves like there's always work to do. There's always something to do. It's never like a golden moment where you're like there, because if you think you're there, then why are Louis and Kenny still doing what they're doing? And, you know, they're out there every day grafting. Okay. They're doing what they love, you know. I've got
the clip that I needed for promoting this. Ben says they are better than masters at work.
No, we're not. Do you know what? Do you know the name The Journeyman is, you know, is one of, was one of the names for it, or the meanings of it is they are the apprentice to the masters at work. So, you know,
the master builders in America are the house builders. And that's where we think that name came from, is they're building houses, so the masters at work. And we found out that the journeymen are seen as the apprentices, so the guys that go around cleaning up and putting the cement together and all that or whatever. And that's where we sort of felt that's where we fit, and I think that's where we'll always probably feel, as we're always going to be apprentices to the elder statesmen, you know, yourself included, and Neil and everyone else who's
you just
evolution.
You mentioned about Neil. I was going to talk about that because that's another part after the quantized connection, for where, again, from my own perception, that the heat really started to rise, getting invited into the Deep Into Soul camp, and then alongside that with those working closely with you know, the festivals and at Southport as well. So you have, I know you owe a lot, and you do. You're very vocal about saying for Neil Pearce, you know, your appreciation of him as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I say it all the time. There's three key elements, or apart from me and Ben, to the journeyman. There's Lee Darlow, there's you, and there's Neil. So without you guys having that faith in us and seeing what you see in us, is what's helped us get to where we are now, I believe.
That's really lovely to hear.
And Neil has been a pivotal point, having him support us. And again, like I said, believe in what we do, for him to invite us into probably one of London's, I don't want to alienate ourselves here, but probably one of the best parties in London is Deep Into Soul. Them parties are legendary parties, and to be able to be asked to play at them is what helped definitely open up more doors, more avenues for us. So that's why he's always going to be the governor.
Influential, instrumental as well. And the thing is, most of the people watching this, most of our friends will know this, but people who don't, it's no mean feat to actually get on that lineup. It's no mean feat to impress Neil Pearce, because he's a miserable bastard. You know what I mean? So to actually get into that camp, that's some going. So that's echelon.
He often tells me, if you're a shit son, I won't book you. You know what I mean? So I guess we do something right.
Yeah, he's as honest as the day is long. He's as honest as the day is long, Neil. I don't think I've met a more direct sort of black and white person. You either done a good job and he's happy, or you was something else. And I think Neil's been always honest with us about that, and also very mentoring. There's been times where we've needed probably more me than you. I've maybe needed a bit of help or some support from someone I could trust that understood, how we were feeling about a few things. And he's been more than happy to spend an hour and a half talking and chewing the fat on the phone and all that sort of stuff. And you can only be eternally grateful for someone of that status helping you out in that scenario, or giving you what is invaluable advice that you can't buy anywhere. And I think, Neil's never, ever been shy or shirked that, or, never a time where you could call him and he ain't got no time for anything. He's absolutely...
He's got no time for you, son. He's got more time for... But that's a different story.
Yeah, that's another story for another stream. Because he's been through it. There aren't a lot of people who've had the lows that he's had, and then the highs that he's had as well, as a promoter, resident DJ, headline DJ. His journey himself is amazing. So if if you're going to listen to anyone, he's the guy to listen to. Steve Blackwax is saying it's been absolutely amazing to see the journey from start to finish, pun intended. And I'm sure the lads will agree. They haven't finished yet. They're far from finished. What I do want to ask is about the game now. You've already given me all the answers with regards to how you deal with it mentally. From a calculated point of view, from a game plan, do you go out there with a game plan? So two angles to this question. Do you discuss what you're going to play roughly before sets? And also, who coordinates the dancing?
Well, we the dance moves are just natural dance moves from us partying together on a dance floor together.
But it has increased. I have seen it increasing. It is becoming more and more coordinated.
No.
As
See,
the times go on.
No, listen. The difference is, right, we've got more space to move. You see, because obviously some DJ booths are a lot smaller. So all you really gonna get is that. Okay. Yeah. Right. But when you got a bit more space, you know what I mean? Ben can throw his little hand moves out there, you know what I mean? His little
Migs and I have always joked that one day we're going to get him a set of nipple tassels, and he's just going to rock up with it.
Listen, because the thing is, Ben's the face and I'm the business. And plus, I'm also Ben's
Hold
backing
on a
dancer.
minute. Hold on. Hold that thought. No. This is serious. Is this your perception? Because, that it isn't, there is no, there's no definition of who does what, is there?
Listen, not that I pay too much attention.
I think your microphone cutting in and out. Is it just my ears? Yeah. Go on, sorry, son.
Yeah.
Your battery's dying. Go on, carry on.
If you look at most of the pitches,
his batteries are going to die. You might need to come through your laptop, Migs. Go on, Ben. While he's trying to come off with some nonsense, what are you going to say, Ben?
Oh no! Listen, I've got 47. I bet you I'm good, son.
It's not. It keeps cutting in and out. You might be.
Yeah, no. I think it might just be moving about and all that, mate. Right. So anyway, let's go back to it. So if you look at pitches,
I can't hear you. I can't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you better now.
Right. Okay. So if you look at 90% of the pitches, you'll see that they're all of Ben. Right. If you watch us perform, you'll see that it is Ben at the front on the effects. Yeah. Right. Where am I? I'm in the background. What am I doing? I'm dancing. So that's why I'm his backup dancer.
Every time. Pulling the strings.
Okay, so joking aside with the dancing, is there ever a discussion about, okay, I've got this tune, I want to go there and or is it all on the fly?
Throughout the week, we'll send each other a tune. He'll say, this is a bit of you done, or this is a bit of me, or this is a bit of us. We like to get together and put a pot. So throughout the week or whatever, I might have a list of 200 tunes, 100 tunes. You know what I mean? He'll have a pot of exactly the same. We'll just put them together because we'll whip through them quickly just to say, this is all right, this is all right, this is all right, I like that. Yeah,
Half the time we've both bought the same things off Track Source. It sort of works out that way, doesn't it? It's like we'll predominantly make sure that when we're going into a set or going to play somewhere, we've got an idea of what's in the pot. Like, when you go to a gig back in the day, you'd take a record box with X amount of records in. You know what's in that record box because you've got X in there to do damage at different times or to hit people right at the right time. And I think we've always been conscious that back to back, a lot of people view as this competition, and we ain't never been in a competition. It's just literally like you were saying at the start, it's a healthy thing where if we've got a direction, which in a formula we kind of work with and we know that formula works for us, it's about having those tracks in that playlist or in that pot that predominantly will be something we can play at that time in the right order or in the right sort of area of the set that we're kind of, trying to give people a certain feeling or, and that's what we try and do. Yeah.
To make sure there's too many curveballs in there, because there's nothing, because it's nothing worse than say me playing one tune and then him going down, say, a Latin road, for example, and I've got to sit there and think, what the fuck have I got to go with that? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's all about complementing each other rather than trying to outdo each other. So as long as we know what we're both feeling, then we can feel our way through that pot of tune.
Okay, so at the moment you are still in the honeymoon period, so to speak. You probably put me right, but I wouldn't think you've had a bad gig yet, right? When you start going out and doing bigger gigs, I mean, not saying you haven't done big gigs yet, but hear me out. When you start getting booked and promoters love what you do and that'll book you to a venue somewhere in the back or beyond, but the crowd don't know who you are and you fall flat on your face, then that's going to test you and you resolve.
We've had it. We've been booked for, say, a predominantly soul event, and then they've put us in playing house music, and then all of a sudden we're half a tune in, and then the dance floor clears. But then it was how do we get out of that or maneuver ourselves out of that. But then luckily we had more soulful tunes rather than the bumpy stuff that we had, which then drew them back in. So it's just I mean, we're fortunate that there's two of us there to think. Is because like when it's a one-man army, then
you're doing everything.
Yeah, you know, and then it's like, oh shit, what have I got? You know what I mean? And then you can start going into your own head about, what am I doing wrong? What can I do? What can I do to pull them out or pull them in? And, you know, but luckily there's two of us there, and so we.
Have you ever? Sorry, carry on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, have you ever? Because I know you'll like smile through it, but has there ever been a set where one of you's made a change of direction and you think, what the fuck's he doing? And then afterwards you're in the green room going, what was that?
Every other set.
There's 100%. Like it tends to be, and I'll hold my hand up. It tends to be me, and it's not a purposeful thing. I'm not trying to trip Migs over. This isn't the game. It's not about trying to do something to fuck him up. It's just about sometimes you might feel something and then you play the first few bars and you go, this is wrong, but it's too late now. Do you know what I mean? But you sort of, I just don't like playing the same stuff all the time. I always want to try and play something new or break something new in a set so that, you know, it becomes something that you think you feel more comfortable falling back on later or playing at a certain time where it feels right later. But sometimes you've just got to play things to know where they fit and feel, because you can see then the reaction.
Listen to Stella and then it won't lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah. There's that as well. There's that's another, I suppose that's a whole other hour session, isn't it? To talk about
a bit of therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you take it more seriously now? That's a daft question, but I've said it now. Do you take it more seriously than you have in the past, or is it becoming less serious because you don't want to take yourself too seriously?
I think a little bit of both. We're both focused or determined not to let, like, you know, the success that we're having change what we're about and how we approach things and what we do. So I think we're just trying to keep ourselves grounded and enjoy everything the way we do, because I think that's what people almost buy into when we're DJing, is the kind of fun element of it. But there is a definite, I think, you know, things like Southport where you do feel that extra bit of pressure because you just don't want it to go back. You want people to go away and haven't had the best night of their lives. And I think that you do feel a little bit more pressure. I certainly do feel a little bit more pressure because there's a level of expectancy that's become more prevalent now, I think, with the popularity having grown a little bit. And that isn't easy to deal with, but because I've got him and he's grounded and he doesn't treat me any differently and we're best mates and we can have a laugh and a joke, it makes us, I think, feel more comfortable about dealing with it.
I think there's times that say, for example, I'm having a flat or whatever, and then Ben is calm, you know, or vice versa. Sometimes his head might go a little, and then it's like, it's all right, son, it's cool, you know. So I think this is where we're fortunate that we have each other to keep that balance.
Mm-hmm. You talk about balance. It's not the full life story, but we cannot allow this conversation to go any further without talking about the people by your side through thick and thin as well, because that balance has got to help you as well. And also maybe Migs, you're going to get overtaken yourself soon on the DJ front, right?
Oh, she's having a go. She's having a good go. Fair play to her.
Yeah. So give a shout out to the ladies. Come on, let's focus on those for a little bit.
Yeah. No. My lovely wife Wendy. She's doing. Yeah. She's trying to become a journey woman, I guess. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or she's just trying to be Wendy Harris. You know.
There you go.
Yeah, she's had a couple of gigs and she's had a good go. Yeah.
Right, so we've got one DJ, and then the other journey woman has got her own production underway, right?
Yes, mate. Yeah, she has. Yeah. So obviously, for those who don't know, my wife's Crystal. Those who do know her, Noah as the lovely, gorgeous girl dancing around normally at the centre of our sets, with Wendy, who has been an absolute rock. And I think we are both very blessed that our wives have allowed us to just continue on this path without really making too many grumbles. I'm sure there's other women out there that might get, a little bit insecure potentially, or not be as supportive. But I can only say that from my perspective, I think Crystal and Wendy both have been absolutely amazing. I love them both dearly, obviously. But yeah, Crystal is now 23 weeks pregnant, and we're looking forward to inviting our son into the world at the end of September. So yeah, it's special times for us, definitely.
Wonderful. Well, the conversation that we were having, when I was with you in Ibiza recently, we were talking about the vocal booth, the date that it began this year in 2023, and I said it was the 29th of September. And you said, wow, imagine how mad it would be if the baby was born on the 29th of September. And I said, imagine how mad it would be if she had my nose. So that gives me a little chuckle.
I remember that.
I won't tell you the story that I'm banding around then.
Yeah. Gotta love it. So we've got Mark Russell has come into the chat, heaping praise upon you guys. Massive shouts out to Mark, doing his own thing as well. Somebody that I had the pleasure of meeting in Greece a few years ago at karaoke's. Got to say hi to Nassos. He says he's recently discovered you guys, and Wanna Be Down is one of my favourites at the moment. Jimmy Ellis is logging on bright and early on a Tuesday morning. Good morning, my friend. And Pugwash is saying he's so happy for you on the Baba front.
Thank you.
When we were in Ibiza, we were talking about how difficult it is at the moment to find time for you guys to get into the studio. So as we start to wrap this up, is there any dates in the diary? Any projects almost coming out? Is there anything that you're playing that's hot off the press, unfinished?
We've got something coming out on Quantize. I think it's the 18th of June. We've got a pre-order at the moment on Traxsource.
Okay.
With Hannah. It's called Loving You. And then we was actually in the studio Saturday working on a couple of little bits, maybe a remix for someone. And then hopefully we've penciled in, is it 15th today? Something like that?
Yeah.
50,
yeah. Got to say a big up to Ziggy Funk as well. Sorry, I just wanted to say as well, like we, through the production and stuff, we've done a fair bit with Lee, but currently also we're doing a lot of stuff with Ziggy, who's, if anyone doesn't know, Ziggy is an absolutely amazing engineer, producer, mix master in his own right, and responsible probably for the production behind some of the biggest Soulful House records over the last 5 to 10 years, certainly from the UK. And he's been really influential in driving I think a slightly more musical edge to what we've done previously. But yeah, like Migs said, we've got Hannah's Loving You out now on Quantize. We've also got loads of stuff, as I'm sure you probably can relate to this, Andy, like loads of stuff that we've got sat there, we've not done enough with, or we haven't focused on getting out to different artists and stuff. So if there's any vocalists that want to work with us, feel free to hit us up, because we've always sort of found that a little bit tough to find the right people to complete the project. So if there's anyone out there that does feel like they want to do anything with us, then feel free to get in touch, because we are quite keen to keep some of these projects going in the right direction as well. So
lovely. One question I'll ask, because it's relevant while I've got you here. I think it is a testament to yourselves working with Lee Darlow, working with Ziggy Funk, as you say, two of the most prolific engineers on the scene. It's very difficult sometimes not to have your music sound the same as everybody else's that works with them, but there is definitely a marked difference to your sound to anyone else's, and you must have to think long and hard to make that happen, because knowing personally, working with other musicians, you have to put your own stamp on it, right? And make sure that you're not just a carbon copy of other things they've done.
For sure. I think for us, like the building block has always been the drums. I think we're big Kenny fans, big Javon fans, and if you listen to their drums, you know instantly it's a Kenny or a Javon record, right? They just got that thing, and I think so for us, it's always been, let's get that drum sound and how we feel it should sound first of all, and then it gives you the basis to bring hopefully everything else into. But it is tough. I mean, you know, but Ziggy himself is like, you know, we've been working together, I think 6-7 years, like through, you know, very different bits of stuff that he's been doing with us. And I think we've got a really good formula now, and he's quite keen to make sure that the sound that we have isn't the sound that other people have as well. He's sort of locked that in, if that makes sense. I think we all kind of know.
Completely. It makes complete sense. Well, gents, I did say it was going to be short and sweet. We've covered a hell of a lot of ground in this talk. Is there anything else that you were expecting us to cover that I may have missed, or are we happy with it all? Have we ribbed each other enough? Is there any more digs that we need to get in before this finishes?
There's always room for another dig, but
well, if your mic hadn't have packed up, we could have carried on. But I can't hardly hear you now.
Yeah.
Well, never mind.
He's been keeping his hand over the mic for the last 5 minutes.
Huh?
Nothing, mate. Nothing.
Okay, so your army of fans, closing words to the army of fans who have helped propel the journeymen to the top of the pile and will continue to push forward. What do you want to say?
Like I say all the time, I mean, we're nothing without you guys. I mean, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be in this position now. You know, and eternally grateful. Thank you for all the love and support. You know, and we'll carry on as long as you want us to.
That's right. I think we've always felt it's a two-way street, and people always say about our energy is always good when we're DJing, but sometimes it's only as good as the people that you're playing for. As cliche or corny as it sounds, actually seeing people in front of you dancing, giving you their all, makes us feel like we're in the right place to try and do what we can as best we can.
Beautiful. Okay, well, the Journeymen are available on all your social media outlets. Hit them up. Vocalists, get in touch with them, and all of our friends all around the world. Leave a comment and let them know exactly what you think of them. Butch Cassidy is saying, I am calm, my love, vocalist nomination. I don't even know if I'm slaughtering that. I am calmy love. Anyway, it's in the comments. Sorry, Butch. You've been nominated for a vocalist to work with anyway. And Jane sends the hearts up and says, my boys, them. All right. So, guys, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you for giving me your time. We'll get you back on again. Maybe we'll do a tech talk at some point, and we'll keep this going. Long may you continue. Lots of love. I'm so very proud of you guys. As condescending as that always sounds, I am. I said in the description, you know, I feel I've got a vested interest in your success. So carry on and make me proud.
Like I said, you
we love you, mate.
A pivotal part of it. So thank you. You know,
thank you. Yeah,
it's that platform to get out to the world. You know, thank you.
No problem at all. Right, guys, go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Big love.
Respect.
Thank you all. Take care.
Respect. And there go the Journeymen. Lovely to see. Great conversation. Achieved everything that I set out to let you know what goes on, what it's like to be thrust into the limelight. It's not all plain sailing, but I think they're doing a great job. Thank you to everyone that's with us. Dinga, thank you again. He says, keep it up, guys. We're all proud of you. Gotta love that. Love hearts aplenty. You can see on the screen here, Mr. Justin Wilkes. I've put June the 5th on there. That's because I haven't been paying attention. I've been completely preoccupied doing a few other things. That should be next week, June the 12th. Justin Wilkes is somebody who I used to work with very closely on Choice FM. He continued on to huge things, and he's not necessarily a name that people in the clubland would know immediately, but you can guarantee he's probably the most famous person out of all of us. So big up to Justin. Schooley will be interested to watch that conversation, I'm sure. And while I was listening to that conversation, actually, to Ben and Migs talking about playing back-to-back, it was quite interesting because Simon and I have been playing together for 20 plus years. And I don't think we've ever once discussed a record that we were going to play. I don't think we've ever once had any kind of chat about what we're going to play. You're going to play this, you're going to play that. And it's as I was listening to their story, I just was filled with a sense of warmth at the prospect of Simon and I doing a 4-hour back-to-back set at the upcoming Vocal Booth Weekender. I think it's the first time in about 4 or 5 years that we've done it. So that's going to be great. Okay, Lisa was here from the very beginning, and she says, thank you for an amazing interview. Such lovely guys. Keep staying in your lane. We love you. Thank you all. And again, I'll say to everybody who comes back and checks out the recording, please do leave a comment, because it does help this wonderful content get out to more people. If you feel you want to subscribe, then you can subscribe to my channel, because it will send you an email reminder every time I go live. Or if not, when you log onto your app, it will bring up the last video that I've done in your timeline, because I've got a world of interviews that you may have missed. Go and check it out. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed recently. You may see your name here on the screen on the right hand side. All of Wardy's heroes, my access members, thank you for your support on a monthly basis. And I remind you, if you need any graphics, any videos, or any websites, then do get in touch with me at Ward's Websites. I am your man. I truly love you for your support. Thank you again.